Welcome back to another episode of the Humble Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Nick Jones, with Kayla Ebner.
Hello, hello.
So where are we today? Because we are clearly not in our normal space.
Yeah, we're on the road again. We're testing out some new spaces. So we are a little bit closer to where I am, a lot closer actually in Worcester. How was the drive for you?
Not bad.
Not bad? Okay. How long?
Almost an hour.
Almost an hour. Okay. Yeah. Because it takes me, I don't know, did you hit any traffic? No. See, 495 for me in the morning is like brutal.
495 South is normally fine.
Okay. Yeah, 495 is like my worst nightmare. Except for the Mass Pike. That's my worst nightmare.
That's horrible.
That's the worst. But anyways, we're on the road today. And we're going to talk about some things that have helped our business in this episode, our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Nick kind of brought this up to me the other day on some things that he has been working on in his business. And, you know, we've talked about before how sometimes it's really challenging as solo entrepreneurs and business owners to work in your business or work on your business rather than in your business. Yeah. So we're shooting, we're editing, but, you know, finding the time to actually work on the business, you know, update, you know, proposals and contracts and like work on things that you just need to help grow your business. It's really challenging sometimes. So we've both found, you know, in the last couple of years, a few things that have really helped us grow and, you know, stressing the importance of making time for these, even though it's not always easy.
Yeah, I think I wanted to kind of take a break from a few guest episodes that we've had, which are always fun. But I think this is a good time to just recenter, kind of just get a quick little educational episode in, really to give tips, just a few tips and tricks that we have on, you know, how you can work on your business. Because like you said, a lot of people overlook this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can just keep your head down and keep shooting and editing. And that's great as long as you've got money coming in. But there may come a time where the money stops coming in. And if you haven't worked on things internally and, you know, things to help you stand out, running ads, doing other kinds of things, then you might find yourself falling a little bit behind and kind of scrambling to get some of this stuff done.
So how about you kick us off here on the first thing? Because I think we're both kind of going to take turns here sharing some tips, but Kayla has the first one here that we will go over.
Yeah, definitely something that we have touched on before, networking. Yes. Nick has talked about networking in a previous episode and just the emphasis on how important it is to build a collection of, and I think network extends past just a network of clients. I think network to me means a network of other creatives, a network of, you know, just other entrepreneurs, people to talk to, whether they're in the industry or they're in a different industry, just a collection of people who you can bounce ideas off of. And it's not everyone's going to bring you work, but just to have people there to bounce some things off of. So for me, my network has been extremely important, and I've kind of built it before I even started the business, before I even knew I wanted to start my business, because working for a previous company, like I still made connections. And obviously, you know, like my mom's pretty connected with her job. So I had her network to kind of lean on when I went off on my own in my own business. And obviously, you know, she was vouching for me. She knew a ton of businesses, but I had a solid, you know, few clients when I first started the business, and those OG clients are still bringing me new work today. Like I'm still getting clients from those people.
Can I ask, so in your you might have answered this already like a while ago, but in your previous business you worked for, were you able to take any clients from then over, or did you essentially, you know, leave all that past work behind and you had to start essentially from scratch in terms of building your network?
Yeah, I did have to start from scratch. There is one client in particular who decided they wanted to continue working with me. I had signed a non-solicitation with my previous company. So I was not legally allowed to go out to those clients and say, hey, come work with me, which I didn't. So there's one client who I still work with today that I was working with at the previous company, but that was on their terms. And there have been several others that have tried that I've denied. But, these people I'm like really close with, and they're like some of my closest friends. So gotten a lot of, business from this one particular person. But other than them, I started from scratch. I didn't even use previous work as like a portfolio.
So how did you get your first clients really?
So I did a lot of cold outreach. I was still living with my parents at the time.
But like with no proof, right? Like no portfolio work?
Not really. I had done some things like senior portraits and stuff on my own. So like I had those things, and then passion projects that I shot for fun for myself. I don't think I even knew what a spec shoot was at the time. I wasn't doing any sort of like trying to reach out to, companies, but I was doing things on my own for fun. And it was a lot of just, reaching out to people and reaching out to businesses who clearly didn't have any professional work in the area. So I did a lot of cold emailing. I even did some cold calls. It was a pretty rough start.
And those initial clients, you said, still like you branched off of them because you got new clients from those initial ones?
Yep. Yeah. So it's been really great. And I just think that the web of people has continued to grow from that, solid core group of people. And I'm just really lucky that I get referrals. And now I haven't done, I would say after the first year, I haven't done I've done a little bit of outreach, but that's really it. So I'm starting to ramp it up. I'm getting ready to do like a lot of outreach. I'm making a list of people who I want to work with, and I'm going to reach out to them. And I have work now that I can provide them and say, this is what I do.
Yeah. Very different structure than me. Like, sure, I've gotten a handful of referrals, but probably not nearly as much as you have. Ever since I started Ascent Studios, I have built it on the foundation of outreach. Like that has always been my main source of getting new clients, because in my opinion, outreach is like, it's the one thing that I can control more or less. Like I can't necessarily control them converting, but at least I can control how much of it I do. And like when it comes to outreach, it's definitely a volume game. So yeah, I'm more willing to do it than other people. And I will willingly do way more than others. Like some people, sure, they'll send like 20 emails out and they call it quits. I won't stop till I hit like 50 that day. Like I will gladly do more than the average person because I know how much volume matters. So literally since I started, that's always been how I've operated. And sure, any referrals that come in, any like word of mouth stuff, that's just, icing on the cake.
It's a bonus. Yeah. It's tough because there are a lot of different methods to outreach. And I think you can email, you can call, you can DM, you can send a voice memo. Like there's so many things that you can do. I've sent video messages.
Paul Weaver is not lying. Okay. Voice memos work for at least response rates through the roof. Night and day. When I started sending voice memos, everyone started replying to me. They might not want to work together per se, but they responded.
Yeah.
And,
so where are you sending voice memos?
Instagram.
You are. Okay.
Just in the DMs.
Got it. And so we've talked about this before. Are you opening that line of communication in their messages? Like, is the DM open to them? Because I know sometimes it goes in the request folder if they don't follow you back.
Right. So
some people don't check that.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like I don't always intentionally open those lines first.
It's not possible.
So yeah, sometimes I just hit them with the DM.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's not the right way to do it. It's just the way I do it. The only thing I say in the voice memos is simply just getting or asking them for their best marketing contact. Like that's the only reason I send a voice memo.
Okay.
And it's normally after I've sent a normal DM. So I'll send a normal DM saying hi, I do XYZ. I'm looking to get in touch with your, best person for marketing, blah, blah. Just send me their contact info. If they don't answer that, then I hit them with the voice memo that essentially says the exact same thing, just with my real voice. And on the off chance they don't answer that, I will send them a personalized video on top of that.
Yep.
Again, saying the exact same thing, more or less. But this time, instead of just hearing me, they see me. And if they don't answer that, then it's over.
I love it. Yeah, doing the
Then
most.
it's like, okay, that's all I can do.
Yep. I know. It's interesting how like some people just don't track. Like some people just post and go, some companies. And it depends on who's managing it.
I mean, honestly, I haven't been doing these specific methods for too long, but I will say right out the gate here, they work. Like
More so than a normal message.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, both of us have recently joined the Freelance Photographer, which is Paul Weaver's online program. And he teaches these methods, which I won't give all the secrets away because I will let you purchase Paul's course on your own free time. But I will say this, the stuff that he teaches are these like voice memos and personalized videos. And I've instantly seen results. Like it absolutely works. There was a time where I think honestly, I've only sent maybe 3 personalized videos, but they've all responded well. And they've all called out like, I loved the personal video, great touch, like stuff, words like that. And I'm like, okay, clearly they value this. And like I held the like prop in my hand, like their branded product. So I was like, all right, I'm sending you a video. I literally have your product in my hand talking about it. And they really resonated with that.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Like I literally, one of the calls I have next week is with one of those companies that I sent the video message to.
Smart. Yeah. I just feel like in a market where it is kind of saturated with content creators now and, you know, everyone is an influencer kind of a thing, you do want to find a way to stand out. And like videographers, you know, there is a difference, I think, between someone who does this professionally and someone who is like maybe more on the freelance or like influencer type side.
Yes.
I wouldn't say, I mean, maybe even, I feel like influencers are their own freaking category.
I think so too. Like I'm not an influencer.
Like is an influencer the same as a content? Like content creators are influencers.
Content creators a little bit, in my opinion, of like
muddy.
a looser term.
Yeah.
Influencer.
Like we are content creators. We create content.
If you want to look at it in like the word for word definition, then sure, we're content creators because we create stuff.
Yes.
But
it's interesting.
Yeah, the influencer people, those are like the full-time YouTubers.
Yeah.
Like I called them influencers.
Yeah. And then it's interesting in the restaurant industry because I was doing a lot of outreach with restaurants in the beginning, and they will pay an influencer, like a local influencer, to go and review. And all they do is like an iPhone thing. I can't even imagine like what they're paying per post.
Honestly.
And it's like iPhone footage.
It's
crazy.
I can't totally speak on it because I've never actually experienced it. But I mean, I've experienced brands coming to me for UGC content. Like I've been a UGC content creator or person for like some random brands, and they don't pay much.
What is UGC?
UGC is user generated content.
Yeah.
So like they were more so looking when they asked me to do it for iPhone stuff, but I essentially refused. I was like, listen, I am an actual videographer here. I'm not going to give you some stupid iPhone stuff. And they said, sure, like do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I was like, at least like I'll do your stupid little like UGC, but let me do it my way.
Right.
So I gave them this like, you know, fairly polished little thing, still like a 20-second little video. Didn't get paid much. So yeah, I know people who do the restaurant thing. Like there's one influencer who I know of that they've made a name for themselves in the Rhode Island area doing that exactly. Going to restaurants and they get paid to do it.
Yeah.
And it's all iPhone, completely iPhone. But they have like tens of thousands of followers. So from the restaurant's business point of view, I can understand paying them a decent amount because they know that, especially if they're local, that they're going to draw a lot of people into your restaurant.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, it's just so interesting. So I think, you know, us as professional videographers, finding a way to stand out is important, and doing these kinds of things is definitely a successful way of of outreach.
Yeah, wait. So that was definitely like a side tangent. I want to go back to networking.
I tried to bring it back there. We almost got there.
So that was mostly about like client networking a lot.
Yeah,
so
outreach and stuff.
I'll talk a little bit more of like you touched on it too, like the creative fellow entrepreneurs type of networking. Yeah. That's what I've personally done more of. Like I've said it again, I said it before and I'll say it again, like LinkedIn. Like, and don't get me wrong, I was a LinkedIn hater. I was a non-believer. Okay.
In case you're wondering, I'm still not active on LinkedIn.
It sucked. But as soon as I got serious about it, I saw all the benefits. And still, I am not lying when I say this. I am on LinkedIn more than any other social media platform. It's way more than I'm on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. Okay, I actually engage. I comment and like on a bunch of people's stuff. Like I pull so much inspiration from them too. Because a lot of the times I'm seeing behind the scenes work, and for the product space, like I'm learning so much just by seeing their finished projects. I'm like, dude, how did you do that? And I was just straight up ask them like, hey, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And they tell me.
My pet peeve is when you see a cool video on Instagram and you like comment on it and ask like, even not just, how did you, it can be as broad as how did you do that, but even something specific like, oh, what lens did you use? And they either like don't answer or they like give you a non-answer.
That's definitely a thing.
I will always tell people how I did something.
And LinkedIn is way more like less gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Like
oh my God, the
everyone
gatekeeping.
Is willing to share. And like,
can we stop with the gatekeeping?
You should be. Like we're not competitors here. We're
right.
I mean, yeah, we're doing the same thing, but let's build a community rather than compete.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like telling someone this one little thing isn't gonna crush your business.
I mean,
it's
especially
so crazy
if you ask
to me.
like what lens you're using, like freaking tell them. Who cares?
What is? I don't understand that.
So
I don't get that.
I've found a lot of value in connecting with fellow entrepreneurs, fellow creators on LinkedIn. It's more specifically that are in my own industry. Yep. So like we've already met Cal, who's been on this podcast. I met him on LinkedIn. He's, similar to what I do, but not necessarily in my exact niche. A better example of that would be another person. I'll shout out Andrew Stone, I think his last name. He does a lot more with product stuff and like health wellness. So just by seeing his posts, not even the behind the scenes, just seeing his final images, that inspires me and that motivates me to be like, okay, those look awesome. Like I want to try something like that. And connecting with people that are in your industry, in your niche, I think for me is important because we're shooting the same stuff. We're shooting, canned beverages, whatever, but he thinks of things that I probably wouldn't have ever thought of and vice versa, like ways of how to shoot things.
Right.
So every time I see one of these people shooting like a canned beverage in a certain way, I'm always like, oh, wow, I would have never thought of that. And now I'm like, I can archive that in my head. I'm like, okay, next time, maybe I'll try something like that.
Yes. And not only that, drawing inspiration is huge, but I also love connecting with other creatives because you never know when you might need a second set of hands on a shoot. Yeah. So I love the fact that I have built, it's a small group, but a small group of people that I can trust to help me on shoots.
Right.
That I know they're capable. I know I can trust them to get the job done. They're going to be professional with my clients. They're not going to try to steal a client from me. Like we've heard about that, those horror stories. Like having people who are talented that you can trust is priceless. I mean, so shout out to Aiden. We've had him on the podcast. Obviously, like you and I do shoots together sometimes. My friend Kayla, who I do weddings with, like just having people that you can trust is so amazing.
I mean, yeah, I can probably count the only people I truly, truly trust on one hand to help me. And that's all I need. Like I pretty much work with the same 2 or 3 people all the time anyway.
Right.
And that's what I hope to solve in the future with building a team. But for now, this is working and I love working with my friends. So it's fun.
Yeah. They're hard to come by, honestly. Finding people you can trust who are good at what they do. It's like, I don't feel like there's a lot of us.
There are a lot of us, but not a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like videographers
Yeah.
and photographers, but they're not all as good as I need them to be.
Right.
Like I
And
know
even just
of I
personality.
know of a ton. But
Yeah.
there's all of those people that I would never ask to help me.
Yeah.
Like not on their best day. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know.
But I'm like, I just need a certain level of, professionalism and
Yes.
skill.
Yes. Yeah. If I'm not vibing with someone, I'm not, even if they're really talented, I'm like, I'm not gonna, I don't know. Vibe is a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, being able to get the job. Like, I don't even think necessarily someone who's on a lesser skill level than you is a bad thing, because I think people can learn so much from experience and just from doing it, that like you can learn really quickly. And my work from compared to this year to last year is like so much better. So, hiring someone who maybe doesn't have as much skill level, but has that personality, has that drive, has the creative eye, that can have its benefits, because, you
Sure.
work with them, you build a relationship and you nurture the relationship. You work well together. Like that's awesome. And it can grow from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of nurturing relationships, that was like my kind of subset to networking, is because I had like such a small group of clients who I started working with in the beginning. I worked with them over time. It wasn't like one-offs necessarily. It was, in the beginning of my business, I had more retainer clients than I do now. So like having those retainer clients and nurturing those relationships, I think is why I ended up getting those additional clients and maybe a few of the one-offs that I got, because I, had built such a great rapport with the clients that I had. So nurturing them is great too. Like I really enjoy working with clients on a consistent basis. You really get to know people that way. You get to know the ins and outs of their business. I get to talk to them about, hey, how did this post go? Like, how was the response? I will have people open up the insights on Instagram so I can see what went well and see what didn't go so well, and figure out what performs best, and like shift maybe shift a couple things at the next shoot. It's things like that where, really getting to know people and getting to build off of what you're doing and constantly evolving is really fun. And I make friends that way too.
No, that's good. It sounds like you do a lot of like content strategy, honestly, more than I do.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily pull up their insights with them and walk them through that. I'll talk about it in a little, but
yeah.
Content strategy is a huge thing to add. But yeah, I agree. Keeping in touch with them and working with them on a consistent basis does allow you to get to know them as a brand or business more. Mm-hmm. I guess my goal is not to have like a ton of retainer clients though. Like I only want like a handful, so I can really treat them as if so I can allocate enough time to them to treat them as if they're my only one. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I had like 10 retaining clients.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a magic number. I would say maybe like a handful, no more than that. Because it's nice to have, not only from a content side, but also like financially. It's nice to know that
floor.
money,
Like
it's nice
your
to know that
retainers are your
something's coming
floor,
in.
and that's your base income. Everything else just climbs on top of that.
Yep. Yeah. I don't have too many right now. I think I only have maybe 2, 3.
I have a handful of calls that I'm hoping I can lock down. So
yeah.
In the next month or so, I'm hoping I have a handful.
Yep.
But kind of moving to number 2 here, I'll go over spec work, I guess. Yeah. So I have a lot to say about spec work, and I have like a few like sub things I'll say, but yeah, the overarching thing here is going to be spec work. And basically, for those of you who don't know, it's essentially doing free work. Like that's like the gist of it. It's a little more strategic than that. So there are a handful of benefits of doing spec work. The first one I would say is just practice. So listen, this might be a hot take, but like a lot of people want to believe that they're like, all about this continuous learning mentality and like they're always learning. I'm sure everyone wants to believe that they actually are, but the truth is not many people actually execute on that. So when it comes to doing spec work, this is your opportunity to actually act on those sayings and like actually keep learning and practicing what you preach, because you're not going to get better if you don't practice. Like think of professional athletes. They're practicing all the time to be great. If you want to be great at whatever filmmaking you're trying to do or photography, you need to practice. And spec work is a great way to do that, especially for me doing brand stuff and product stuff. There's so many techniques that need practice. Like I can't do it on the first try. I need to learn how to do it so that I can then do it more efficiently later on. I don't want to waste like 3 hours trying to learn something as I'm going. Ideally, this some random like complicated technique I've already practiced a handful of times. And then when the real thing comes, I can do it in just a few tries.
Right.
So I think that's a huge thing, just simply practicing and like, getting better, like getting better at your
Enhancing
skills.
your skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is something you should always be doing.
Yep. And it's less risk, right, than doing it on a client shoot, kind of like you were saying.
There's literally no consequences. Like if you mess up, it's fine. Like nothing bad will happen. So do whatever you need to do. Take all the risks you want to take because there are no consequences. The second reason is it's really good, and this one resonates more with me, for when you're switching into a niche that you don't have portfolio work to showcase. So even a year ago, I was shooting everything. Like I can't even think of all the industries I've shot because there's so many. But I guarantee you, if you can think of any industry, I've probably shot something in it.
Boudoir?
Not boudoir. And I probably would never do boudoir. Okay, that's the only one.
Gotta give the kitchen a shout out.
What I'm doing now is health, wellness, and beverage products in the e-commerce space. So, a year ago, I had never done this before. Like I've tried. I used to watch YouTube all the time. This guy, Daniel Schiffer, some of you might know him. He kind of coined this handheld style for filming YouTube B-roll, which I fell in love with, being like an avid YouTube watcher and a slight YouTube content creator. So I tried it a couple years ago, failed miserably. But in the moment, I was like, oh yeah, look at me. I'm freaking Daniel Schiffer. And then now I look back and I'm like, God, this is fucking horrible.
Oh, we done the F-bomb.
So it's like so bad. And then now, so I had no prior like shoots or videos that I could really showcase like I can do product work, because all my previous attempts were so horrible that I wouldn't even want to use as portfolio pieces. So I was like, all right, the one thing I know is, at least I know this, like the direction I wanted to go in, the health, wellness, and beverage space. And I was like, all right, well, if I want to do this, I need to build a portfolio, because I literally have never shot this before, which is very random. I don't think many people will switch into a niche that you've absolutely never shot in before.
Yeah. Can you tell me why? Like what drew you to those?
I think it was the beverages in particular. I don't remember the first one I think I did was the Spindrift spec video. I think I might have tried something before then, but for some reason, shooting beverages, like, canned beverages, whatever, I find so fun. Like, I don't think there's ever been a separate video that I've enjoyed more than that. Oh, actually, I just remembered. I remember. So I helped Alex on one of his videos that was for a canned beverage.
Okay.
And we were in his garage and we were doing this crazy shit. We like taped up a knife to the back of it and like swung a water balloon, like crazy stuff. And doing that was so fun. And I'm like, okay, getting the chance to work with products like this and like being able to find these fun, creative ideas is way better than any corporate thing. You wouldn't be taping knives up and swinging water balloons in a corporate office. So,
definitely not. Well, you never know, but.
So I was like, all right, this was really fun. I think I want to do more of this. And then the health and wellness kind of just maybe overlapped a little bit, but maybe was also influenced a bit from Paul Weaver. And the overlap there, it was easy enough to overlap beverages and health wellness with healthy beverages.
Right.
So I could really just kind of focus in on that. And then obviously those are very, very much umbrella terms. So I can fill in random products here and there, like a foam roller, like I might be doing. So that kind of opened the door for that. But So yeah, that's how I really chose to create spec work to show a portfolio that I didn't have. And, I've probably shot a dozen spec videos in the product space just to build up practice for one. Because the first like 3 or 4, I thought they were good in the moment, but now just a year later, garbage. Already deleted.
Terrible.
So
deleted?
Yeah, gone forever.
Man.
So I will never show those. But now a year later, after actually practicing and like actually continuously learning, my skills have really improved. And now my product videos are way better than they were 10, 12 months ago. So that's kind of reason number 2. And the third reason, or the third benefit of spec shoots is even when you're super busy and like you're approaching burnout, and granted, this is a lot easier said than done, it is nice to take a step back from the client stuff, the stress of the client work, and just remember why you're doing this in the first place, like why you're shooting, why you're using camera, just because you like it. So take time to shove the client work aside and just go shoot something for fun. And if you want to be a little strategic about it with a real spec shoot, do that. But sometimes just shooting stuff for free and for fun is a nice break when needed. And again, we've all been at the verge of burnout. You don't want to do anything. So like if you don't want to do it, don't. But if you can bring yourself to do a little shoot for fun on the verge of burnout, that would probably help alleviate some of that stress and like kind of reignite that creativity and bring back some of the passion to shoot some more.
Yes. I think the way that I differ from you in the way of like relieving burnout and stress is I do more like traveling or like going somewhere and shooting with a friend. Like I don't necessarily set up a spec shoot to like try to pitch to someone, but I do think like I get an itch to travel. So I go travel, bring my camera, just like going somewhere new is something that like helps me too. But yeah, spec work, I mean, that's like 2 birds, 1 stone. You're building your portfolio and you're, relieving some stress.
I've, like I said, built my whole business around outreach. And the two main methods of outreach I've used, one of them heavily includes spec work and leveraging the spec work. Because it's not about necessarily the actual shoot you're doing. Whereas, yes, like, sure, you might be able to sell off some of these assets immediately. But to be honest, what's more likely going to happen is the client you're shooting for might not want it, but that's fine. Because if the worst thing to happen to you is that you can leverage it in the future, you're fine, because that's all you can ask for. The main point is to leverage this content for future outreach and to be strategic about it. So like I said, I do a lot of beverages and brands. So I'm not going to be shooting a spec video for Coca-Cola because they're too big. You need to be strategic. One, they have clearly, obviously, an in-house team to do all their stuff. They would never hire me. And
never
also,
say never.
If they say I shot a spec video for, Coca-Cola, put it on my website, and then other future clients go to my site, see that I shot this video for Coca-Cola, that could scare them away because they could see me as like, oh my gosh, like he's worked with Coca-Cola, like that's huge.
Big,
we're never going to be able to afford him.
Right.
So that's why I don't recommend shooting for the big names for spec videos, at least. Like, that's why I say be strategic about it. Like, do your research, hours of research. I promise you it's worth it. Because if you reach out to the wrong people, it could potentially be somewhat of a waste of time. But yeah, doing your research and then leveraging this, it's already gotten me clients. So
yeah. So you, from doing these spec shoots, you told me you've landed a couple calls with a couple of beverage companies.
Yeah.
Have you done any other work aside from that, from like people seeing this stuff that you've done, like the spec work?
Yeah. So last year I got hired to do photos for a beverage brand. I leveraged the video I said that was horrible, the spin drift video that is now forever gone.
I've seen that. I thought I saw that when you posted it. I thought it was great.
I did leverage that. And like a year ago, I got hired to shoot some like product photos for a different beverage brand.
Okay. So is that from posting it on your social media where people see it, or website?
No. So
what is it?
I don't recommend posting it on social media until you've already had contact with the brand you're trying to reach out to.
Got it. Okay.
Like, I don't know if I believe this. Paul says, don't give anything away. Like, don't post about it. Don't even post when you're shooting. Like, have it be a complete surprise. Like, don't let them know at all. Like, don't give it away. Do it that as you will. I think I'm fine shooting BTS. Like,
right.
It's whatever.
It's fun.
So I basically send them an email who, after I've done the research I already have, I'm not sending it to an info at or contact at, hello at. No, you need to be sending it to a person, a real individual who is the one you want to be talking to, the marketing person, whatever. So after I find them, I'm sending them an email saying like, I shot this video for you, or I shot whatever for you. Send that in like either a Google Drive link if you want to be simple, or like PicTime, Pixie Set, whatever, if you want to try and be a little fancy. And, don't do a ton. It's a spec shoot, so you're not going to shoot like 15 videos and like 100 photos. Like, no. I send like one video and like 10 to 15 photos max. And just be like, hey, I shot this for you. And then there's a couple options. You could sell them the assets right then and there. They could buy them, and they could be like, hey, like, yeah, this is great. Let's potentially talk about, a partnership, blah, blah, blah. Or they could just not want it. And like I said, if the worst case is you just being able to leverage this content, then you're still in a good place.
Right.
So there's options, and none of them are bad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I did one of the spec shoots with you, just like kind of shadowing you to see how you do it. And I totally see why you love it, because the result is so rewarding. It really looks
really satisfying.
So good when you do it right.
I think it's also like I'm able to nail pre-production, and there's been some other recent spec shoots that I did. I shot a whiskey. Ooh. And I did pre-production for it. And I literally was so dialed with song already pre-cut, exact shots that I needed. I got everything I actually needed. And when I edited it, I cut it, colored, and exported less than 15 minutes.
Wow.
Done. Because of how I pre-production did.
Yep.
Like I knew exactly what I needed.
Damn.
And it was boom, done.
That's good. Yeah. Efficiency definitely helps too.
I think it, like, I don't know. Yes, it's efficient, but it's also just helps me streamline my entire process. Like I just know exactly what's going to happen, and I know what I need. And if I can't capture a certain shot, then I have some backup shots to pivot to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's helped me to force me to get better at pre-production, because without it, I would be lost and I would spend a ton of time trying to edit and piece it together. Like every spec shoot I've ever done, I've pre-productioned very precisely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Especially when there's that much work going into it, you need to have very clear idea of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. And I think I enjoy that process. Like I enjoy creating the mood boards, the storyboards and stuff like that. And sometimes if I was working like not with a non-brand, like if I was working with like a normal like brick and mortar type place, it's harder to do, or sometimes that involves more people. They might want to do it themselves, which like sure is fine, but I prefer to do it myself. So normally working with brands, I'm able to just have the full control to just do it. And I personally prefer that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you don't have to rely on anybody else. You don't have to wait for people's approval. Yeah.
I'm really excited about this shoot I have coming up. It's like they basically said like, yeah, like we just want to see what you can do. So do whatever you want. Pretty much. So I'm like, all right, great. Say less. Yep. I'll do it.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I would like to do more spec work. It's like you said, it's making time for it.
So it's hard. And I admit that it's a lot easier for people to understand and comprehend it for brands and products. Like that's very straightforward, more or less. You just go buy the product yourself and you make content from it. A lot of people are not product photographers or product videographers, brand photographers. Yeah. So yes, so it's a lot harder to translate these methods into other like industries.
Yeah.
It's possible though. So when it comes to it, it's more of like think of like free to fee. That's like a term people are probably familiar with. Same concepts, right? Like it might not be called a spec shoot, but free to fee. So let's say you're shooting for a restaurant, but you've never shot restaurants. Say your bread and butter is like corporate stuff. And you're like, oh, I kind of want to get into the restaurant space. Again, it's not product centric, so you can't just go in and do it. So go up to them and just say like, hey, I'm looking to, do more work in the high end restaurant space. I would love to shoot you some free like menu photos or something. Mm-hmm. So start small and like just offer them a free shoot. You go in, shoot it for free, just a couple hours. And then the post-shoot process is going to be the same. You could try and sell them the assets right then and there. You could just give it to them for free if you want, but if you want to try and sell them, and if you have a little more confidence, try and sell them. And then they could sign you on for some future work, or you can then just leverage this restaurant for your future outreach to all the other high-end restaurants.
Right. Yeah, I've offered free work before. It's been a minute since I have, but I've definitely done that where I'm like, okay, I'll just shoot this for free because I want to get more experience in this particular industry or field and just have that to show. Yeah.
I think like shooting for free is not necessarily something to be ashamed of, but you still need to be very strategic about it. Yeah. There are some bad things to do for free, like that are not worth it and you shouldn't do for free. But if you truly see value out of it, if you can, I'd say getting experience is honestly like the bare minimum you should get from it. But if you can somehow leverage this to help you in the future, then sure, doing it for free is not horrible, especially if you have nothing else to show for it in this space. So yeah, I think if that's the restaurant example, same thing can go for events. Just go shoot an event for free.
Right.
If you want to get into like the event filmmaking photography space. Mm-hmm. So it might be a little harder with corporate-y type stuff, but it's definitely still possible.
Right.
Just talk to the right people, offer a small thing for free. Mm-hmm. And crush it, obviously. Like you have to crush it. Like,
treat everything as an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to treat it like it's $1 million project, even though it's free.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That was a good one. Want to wrap up with the last one, you think? Or is there one more that you had?
No, that's pretty much it. You had what, mindset?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about mindset just because I feel like I definitely had a little bit of a different entry into owning a creative business because it was never my intention. I know for some people, whether they're going from freelance to fully owning a business, or if they're just going from, graduating high school or college to wanting to own their own creative business. I know there's a lot of people that this is like their dream. They want to do this. They are very sure of it, but that wasn't the case for me. And for me, it was more of I can't find any jobs that really are calling to me. I was unhappy in my previous job. Nothing was really sticking out to me. And someone said, why don't you try just doing it by yourself? And I was like, what the heck? This is crazy. So my original mentality was, if this doesn't work out, I'll just get a real job. And I have since shifted my mindset to, if this was the only option, if it was this or bust, if it was own your business and succeed or you're out of the street, like screwed, what would you have to do to succeed? Like, how hard would you have to work to make this happen? And I think it was a lot of self-doubt in the beginning. I don't think I really saw myself as capable of owning my own business. I didn't know the first thing about it. But as time went on, not only did I realized that I was capable of it, but I was like, I'm really enjoying myself. Like, I love this. And it really surprised me how much I was able to love what I was doing while also like making money. So I just didn't ever really see that as a possibility. So my mindset really, I had to switch it and be like, okay, now like this is for real. This isn't just, I'll go get a job if this doesn't work out. Like, I need this to work out, because I can't picture myself doing anything else. So that was a big mindset shift for me. And I think I've just put so much more emphasis on really wanting to make this work since I've felt that way. So
yeah, no, I mean, coming from my perspective of this is what I wanted to do and I just went into it. I think the main thing that has carried me throughout, this past like 4 or 5 years is, I'd say, like my self-confidence. I hardly have ever doubted myself, even in the lowest of low times, which there have been some rough times, trust me, like months of nothing coming in, like no clients. Even in those times, I knew I would be fine. Like I had the confidence in myself, like it may be super dark right now, but I know I can make this work. And I've thought that the entire time. Like I will do whatever it takes to make this work.
Right. Yeah. If this is the only option, right? Like for you, this is your only option, is making this work. There's nothing else. Like this is it. Do or die. It sounds dramatic, but
I mean, kind of,
it's
yeah.
true.
But I remember, like, I'm not trying to relate or like compare it to being like a professional athlete, but hearing these, I guess, like motivational speeches, if you will, from like Kobe Bryant and like Michael Phelps, which I've listened to like a bunch of times, I've resonated with their mindsets of, being the best, I guess. Not that I'm trying to be the best. I never will be. And I'm fine with that. I'm nowhere near the best. But it's just that desire to always be better is, I think, what mostly resonated with me. And that true, like I said, continuous growth mentality and like learning all the time. And I think, hearing that from them, how much they dedicated to becoming as good as they were, I knew that that's what I had to do. If I want to be really, really good at this, I need to spend the time and know if I put the time in, it will work no matter what. Like, I don't care how dark the dark times get. If I keep working, it will work out.
It will pay off. Yeah. And it is a grind. It's constantly on your mind. I don't know about you. Like I'm always, sometimes I find myself mid-conversation with someone, not like, so like a friend or something, or even sometimes with my boyfriend, and I just like zone out and I'm like thinking about something that I have to do later. It's hard. It's so much stress on you mentally. You have to you eat, sleep, and breathe the business. And my dad always told me that. And you don't, because my dad owns his own business, but you don't realize it until you're in it. It's like so heavily on your mind, of like from the little things to the big things. And, when you're in those low points of like, oh my God, like what is happening right now? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, whether it's moments where you're so busy, your head is spinning and you're running on caffeine and coffee and energy drinks, or if you're in the lull and you're like, no one's reached out to me in weeks. Like I don't know what's going to happen. It's just always on your mind. Always.
Yeah. I mean, again, a remedy for that, hopefully for me, will be building that team to alleviate some of that onto some other people.
Yeah. It's still all going to be yours though.
I mean, yeah, but at least I can distribute the stress to them. Right. So I don't have to bear it all myself.
Right. Yeah. It would be nice to have someone to talk to rather than talking to myself all day long. Just kidding. I don't talk to myself.
Oh, I do.
I do in my head. I'm not like an out loud. You do?
Yeah, no, literally sometimes if I'm really stressed, right, if I have a lot to think about, in the car, I will turn off my music and I just talk to myself out loud in the car.
Okay, sometimes I do that, and I actually if it's something I need to translate onto something, I will do I'll do a voice memo or like a what are they, like a talk to text. I talk to text a lot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely do that too. You're right. We're crazy.
I literally just talk as if someone's there listening to me, but no one's there.
Who else are we gonna vent to?
I'm just like, okay, so I gotta do this and then blah, blah, blah. And I just literally just think out loud as if I'm having a conversation.
It doesn't hit the same if it's just in your head. It's all stuck.
There are times where if I pull up to like a stoplight and people are next to me, I realize how crazy I look, but I just keep going.
Well, you could be talking on the phone. You never know. Talking. It's okay. I also sing in the car, so people probably look at me crazy for that. It's all right. Nothing wrong with it.
But yeah, having the right mindset is definitely important.
I've heard different takes on whether there is there are people who, like, some people think you have to be like born with the entrepreneurial mindset, and some people think like you can like create yourself into it. And I don't think I was ever like gung ho business owner.
I'll say this though. I think the people that are like quote unquote born into it, like the gung ho people from the get go, have an advantage.
Yeah, that's
for sure.
True. That's very true.
Have a head start and probably can handle things more efficiently or like better than someone who learned their way into it.
Right.
Just out of like that innate ability to be able to, take things in and deal with the stress in a certain way. They probably do have the advantage, but it's not impossible for other people to learn it.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I do agree. All right. That was good.
That pretty much wraps that up. It was a little longer than I thought, but I think it was really good. Talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that was good. Hopefully you guys got some sort of takeaways for that of, things that have helped us, and
hopefully we were still recording. Yep.
Oh, good. Yeah, right. I know. We're good. We're solid. Well, thank you guys so much. Oh, you usually do this part. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Subscribe on YouTube and rate us 5 stars on Spotify.
Yes.
And you can catch us at Humble Hustle Podcast on Instagram. We're on TikTok as well.
Oh, and submit your stories. We definitely want to do another stories, like a reading your stories episode.
Yeah.
So horror stories, like even success stories, hot takes, whatever, just send them in.
Yeah.
And in an episode in the next maybe month or so, we will read some of your stories.
Yes.
Because trust me, I got one of my own that I will probably throw in there.
I can't wait for that. Oh, so good. All right. Awesome.
All right. That's all.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.